Hello there guys from Sligo and Sligo bus station, which is right in front of me there. And yeah, this afternoon I am taking a bus over to Derry, Londonderry. It's with Bus Eireann, and you know what, I haven't been with these guys for probably 20 years now, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're like. I'm looking forward to it. Why don't you come with me? We'll check out the facilities here first and then we'll get on board. I'll catch you in a bit. The Sligo bus station is right next to the railway terminus, so just down the steps you can see on the right here, so connectivity is really good. And it's bigger than I expected, to be honest, neatly ordered with the 5 bays you can see here, allowing buses to pull up right next to the building, inside which is plenty of seating and a departure board above your head as you enter. There is a staff ticket office towards the rear, a ticket machine, tourist information, timetables and toilet facilities. There is a well-stocked shop over the road for all your supplies if needed. A quick look at the departure board here showed that our bus, the 64 service from Galway, was right at the top of the screen and due to depart Sligo at 1500 hours exactly. And at about 14:55 the bus arrived, 211D 18740, a VDL Futura FHD2. You might have to help me out a little bit with the Irish number plate system here, because I was of the impression that the first 3 numbers referred to the year of registration or something like that. And I might be wrong, but yeah, please let me know in the usual way. Quite a few people got off here. There was certainly a lot less board in the bus, and I purchased my ticket using the Bus Eireann app beforehand, but you can also pay when you board. The driver scanned my QR code and I was on, and first impressions, yeah, pretty good really. Seats looked particularly comfortable. Now I chose one on the right hand side and we reversed off Stad just 4 minutes behind schedule. I reckon that at this point there were probably around 25 people on board. And there were no safety announcements or anything like that. I was kind of half expecting there would be, because this bus was more akin to the sort of thing I would expect with National Express, Megabus or Flixbus, which are of course coaches. And I think one of the major distinguishing factors though is the amount of stops we're timetabled to make, but also the regularity of the service. So yeah, I guess really it's more of a long distance bus service, so it makes sense to operate them with coaches, and the sort of thing you would get in Scotland with CityLink or West Coast Motors, for example. I'm rambling on a bit, but yeah, I hope you get the idea. We're just crossing the Garavogue River now, and would soon turn north towards the coast again. After reading some of your comments on my previous video where I arrived here by train, I really wish I'd have had more time in Sligo, because it sounds and looks like a really interesting town. I'll definitely be back at some point. As it was, we were soon into open countryside, and according to the timetable, I'd be on this bus for a total of 2 hours and 24 minutes, arriving into Derry Londonderry at 17:24. And despite the grey skies, there were still some great views after we left Sligo, heading north on the N15, the main road which we would be on for most of the journey. If you sit on the right hand side, you will have the best views of the mountains, and we'll get ever more closer to as we progress. And one thing to note is about 10 minutes after leaving Sligo we passed through Drumcliff and St Columba's Church, which is the final resting place of WB Yeats. And apologies I didn't film it, but I have heard the church is well worth a visit. If you've been there, let me know in the comments below. And we passed through the village of Grange. Does anybody know what these flags are for that are lining the road here? And then we leave County Sligo across the Duff River that forms the boundary here with County Leitrim. Again, there were some fantastic views of the majestic mountains in the distance, but yeah, I was a bit torn at this point, because despite these amazing views, we were also beginning to get some terrific coastal scenery on our left. We're not in County Leitrim long on this road, because by the time we reach the Tullahan roundabout, we've actually crossed into County Donegal, where we turn off the N15 into Bundoran. Now, as we come to a halt on the side of the road, another 64 service for Galway departs from the wonky bus stop opposite. Bundoran, population about 2,500, is the surfing capital of Ireland and one of the best 20 surfing locations in the world apparently. It used to have its own railway station and the line ran to Enniskillen and beyond. But following the partition of 1922, the trains then had to cross the border into Northern Ireland, meaning delays due to customs controls. Well, in 1957, the government of Northern Ireland closed the line on its side of the border, effectively cutting off Bundoran. Yeah, that was the end of that. The nearest railway station now is back in Sligo.
Next stop, Bundoran.
Anyway, back to buses, and the seat was quite comfy really. A decent cushioned headrest here, nice trim too. A good cushioning also on the back and bottom sections. You have a recline lever here, and legroom is reasonable, I would say. There were footrests at each seat, and the floor was nice and clean. On the seat backs you have a flip down table with a cup holder. All seats had 3-point seat belts, and there were retractable armrests between the seats and on the aisle seats. The recline went back a fairly decent amount too. I'd chosen a seat near the middle over the toilet, so there was nobody behind me to annoy. Big windows but no curtains. Above your head were individual air vents, reading lights that worked, and a stop button. Luggage racks for small bags on both sides. Large luggage goes in the hold. I mean, basically it's a coach, isn't it? Though, yeah, it did have certain bus traits like the next stop screen at the front. All in all, it was a very comfortable ride. One thing I would say is we were supposed to get at-seat USB charging, but I couldn't find any, so yeah, as always I had my charging pack with me anyway, but later on in the journey I noticed there was a hole between the two seats in front, and I prodded about a bit and I managed to fish out the USB sockets, which had obviously fallen down inside the casing. It's a maintenance issue this really, isn't it? But yeah, they did actually appear to be working, so I'm assuming if you find a seat with them intact, you'd be okay. And talking about maintenance, you probably heard me referring to the onboard toilet there. Unfortunately it was locked, so I'm assuming it was out of order because they do display a WC sign on the outside of the vehicles, as you can see here. Quite a few people got off at Ballyshannon, where we parked opposite the bus station, but not in it for some reason. A very pretty town centre though, I thought. Did you notice the statue there? That's Rory Gallagher, the famous and quite brilliant guitarist who was born here in 1948 and was a major influence on many arguably more well-known guitarists such as Eric Clapton and Brian May. A festival in his name is held here every year in June. We turn off the N15 again here at the Tullihill roundabout, heading for the beautiful town of Donegal. I've been here before actually. I've stayed the night somewhere in town when I used to hitch around Ireland in my younger days. I haven't tried the equally stunning Donegal airport yet, but it's definitely on my bucket list. Mind you, it does seem a bit of a way from the town itself looking on the map. We pulled up 7 minutes late opposite the Four Masters Monument, erected in 1934 to commemorate the four monks from Donegal's Franciscan friary who compiled the annals of the Four Masters apparently between 1630 and 1636. Well, hardly anybody got off here, but yeah, at least a dozen people got on board, so we're quite busy now. Onwards now past the Church of the Four Masters, or St Patrick's Church, with its beautiful round tower, built between 1930 and 1935. I thought it looked much older than it actually was for some reason. Anyway, back on the N15, and we're climbing up now into the Blue Stack Mountains with the well-known Biddy's Pub down here on the right. The mountain pass we're using is known as the Barnesmore Gap and was once shared with the County Donegal Railway, a narrow gauge railway that operated several lines in the area between around 1906 and 1960. Now this particular section ran between Donegal and Stranorlar. The company was particularly notable for its pioneering use of rail cars on the network. And at the top of the pass, with peat bogs on either side, we see Loch Morn here on our right. Well, I think this was actually my favourite stretch of the route. Such wonderful scenery here, it really was beautiful. It was quite a busy road this, and unfortunately we came across some roadworks on the way down from the mountains which did hold us up a little bit. Well, I tried out the onboard Wi-Fi whilst we were waiting for the lights to change, and yeah, again, just like Irish Rail, it was excellent, and no unnecessary sign-up information required, just a straight-in connection with YouTube playing well and other social media working effortlessly. Now, why can't all Wi-Fi be as good as Irish Rail and Bus Eireann? Brilliant stuff. It looks like they were doing some resurfacing work or something like that, but you know it needs to be done, doesn't it? Dropping down from the mountains now, we had forestry on either side. Looking out the window, it was still a bit grey, but it did feel like it was brightening up a bit. Ballybofey next, where we pass another expressway service headed to Galway, and then we're straight into Stranorlar itself. Now remember I was talking about the County Donegal Railway? Well, just after crossing the River Finn here, there's a clock, a commemorative bench and a sign that looks to me like an old station sign. Now the site is actually a Bus Eireann depot by the looks of it, and that's accessed by Railway Road. This has got to be the site of the old station, surely. I'm sure you'll confirm or otherwise in the comments below. Now we stopped opposite the Keys Hotel. It was 17 minutes late at this point. A coach party was arriving on a Bretherton's holiday by the looks of it. Now here's a question. Would you like to see me try a coach tour or holiday? Don't laugh. I'll give it a go. I'm not sure it's my kind of thing, to be honest. Have you been on one? Do you have to eat soup every night? Let me know of your experiences in the comments below. My mum and dad have been on a couple. They reckon they're great and they've had a brilliant time. Now then, Letterkenny. Well, yeah, this is where we started to experience some significant delays, really. We were due into the main bus station at 16:55, but first we had to stop at the Letterkenny Institute of Technology on the Port Road. We eventually arrived into the actual bus station 27 minutes late. Almost everybody got off the bus here. I mean, it's quite a big town, Letterkenny, so yeah, that was probably no surprise. But I was surprised that hardly anyone got on. Now we left the bus station, and believe it or not, we stopped at the Institute of Technology again, literally, right opposite the earlier stop. I mean, what was the point in all that? Why not just have the one stop at Letterkenny bus station instead of three? It just didn't make a lot of sense to me, and according to the screen at the front of the bus, it was still another 40 minutes to Derry. Traffic was backed up all the way to the Polestar roundabout. Yeah, okay, the time of day must have had something to do with all this, but yeah, instead of the scheduled 2 hours 24 minutes now, the delays were going to make this particular journey over 3 hours long. And by the way, bear in mind, it left Galway at 12 o'clock, so some people probably have already been on the bus nearly 5.5 hours. Well, actually, the main issue seemed to be the lights at the Polestar roundabout. Yeah, of course, it was rush hour. We finally freed ourselves at 17:44. Yeah, quite late at this point. We should have arrived into Derry 20 minutes ago. Anyway, we'd been on the N13 now since Stranorlar, but we turn off onto the R237. That then takes us up to the border with Northern Ireland, where it then changes again to the B193. There is almost nothing to indicate that we've left Ireland here, other than this national speed limit sign. And then, of course, the other relevant road signs change from metric to imperial. This must have been the quickest way into Derry Londonderry, and we were soon travelling alongside the mighty River Foyle that runs through the heart of the city and then into Lough Foyle to the northeast. Then we passed the Foyle Valley Railway Museum, which only gives me one other excuse really to revisit this fantastic city as soon as possible. This was my first visit to Derry Londonderry, and I was really impressed. The fantastic city walls, the river, there's just so much to explore. I cannot wait to come back. Well, price I paid for this trip was €16.75 adult one way, which was an early bird discounted ticket apparently. That's an okay price, not a massive bargain in my opinion, but well, there's no direct rail link between Sligo and Derry Londonderry, so it is what it is, I guess. We arrived into the main Foyle Street bus station at 18:20, 56 minutes late in the end, which wasn't great, was it, to be honest. Local buses and long distance buses arrive and depart from the station, including the Translink Gold Line down to Belfast, and I'll be trying that next. And I got my stuff together and disembarked the bus. So fortunately, it was only a quick 5-minute walk to my accommodation for the night, where after arriving, I just took a minute or 4 to sum up the journey. Right guys, welcome to Derry and my accommodation for the night. Which is compact and bijou, isn't it? But that's fine. I'll tell you what, there's some great views from my window. I'll show you this. Come on, look at this. There we go. It's like herds of wildebeest galloping across the Serengeti. Anyway, it is what it is, isn't it? And it's really central. Well, what did you think of Bus Eireann's Expressway? And facilities on board, well, yeah, I mean, the Wi-Fi was really good. There's a few maintenance issues. I suspect maybe the toilet's out of use because or maybe they don't use the toilets at all. I tried it. If you want to get from Sligo to Derry, I mean, what alternatives have you got? Driving, or you got to go into towards Dublin and then out again, and that's just going to take you forever, isn't it? Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Have you tried this service yourselves, or would you try it after watching this? And all I've got to do now is head out into town and find somewhere to eat. And believe me, I'm really looking forward to that. If you appreciated this, guys, I would really appreciate a subscribe if you haven't already. It makes these trips all the more worthwhile. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I hope I can catch you on another adventure soon. I'm sure I will. And until then, guys, cheers for now.